specifically do this morning, as I said, is to give you some information about where our church is headed. I want to celebrate some things. I was really just kind of in awe of the first 6 months of this year that God's given us as a church. It was just so exciting, and so I want to just share some facts, some things that God's doing in our church, make you aware of those things. But if you guys could you switch over and let's just kind of see the poll as it comes through for this first one, and we'll take a look at that and to see how God's moving in your life. Feel free, you can click over on the questions tab and you can go ahead and be submitting in any questions that you may have. And at the end, I will definitely come back to those and see. So you can see as the results are coming in, and the more of you that interact and give feedback on this, the more, the thing that I love about this is it just gives us a snapshot of kind of how God's speaking to us as a church. And it also gives me feedback as I'm thinking ahead to future sermon series and stuff. I can keep these things in mind about what's really resonating with where we are as a church, because I don't want to just pull my own ideas out. So as you continue to interact with that, you kind of see how those are coming through. And it's just neat to see God speaking to us in a lot of different ways. So we'll continue to keep that up just for another moment so you can see the feedback come through. But feel free to go ahead and do that on your own. So let me mention a few things to you. I'm really excited about what God is doing in our church. I hope. Is anybody excited about what God's doing in our church? I hope that you are. So if you've, I can't give all the background of the history of the Grove Church, but this was started by a handful of families under our previous pastor, Scott Sparks, who unfortunately passed away unexpectedly back in February. But God gave this group of people a vision way back, I guess it was probably 2009, maybe, when the vision first started kind of coming together. The church launched in 2010 in Easter, so we're about 8 years old as a church. Pastor Scott had just reached a point where he had felt like he had taken the church as far as he could take it, and we see now God just had his hand in preparing everything for the future of the church. I came in May of last year. We had a great transition from Scott to myself, and so here we are now, fast forward basically a year later. And so I want to just kind of celebrate some things with you about what we're seeing God do in our church. Most importantly, we're seeing spiritual movement. And that's what gets me excited. And that's not something we can force. It's something that just takes time for the Holy Spirit to start stirring and moving. So we're seeing people surrender to Christ. We're seeing people take next steps. We're going to be celebrating baptisms here in a few weeks. That is why we do what we do as a church, which means looking forward, all of us have a responsibility to be looking out and asking God, how can you use me? Who in my life, as I live, work, and play, can I impact? Who do I need to share my story with? Who do I need to invite to come with me on Sunday? Who do I need to invite over to my house so I can just build a better relationship and get to know their story? Those are things that we all talk about. So we're excited about that. Training people in disciple making. We'll be kicking out some stuff this fall. We've had some people that have already been a part of that. And as we start mentioning that, if you say, hey, I would like to be trained more in how to reach people around me, how to be a disciple that's looking to make disciples, we'd love to plug you into that. We have more people volunteering and serving. We were actually joking this morning because we had so many people in the tech booth. It's just cool about the way people are wanting to get involved and plug in. If you haven't taken that next step of serving, we'd love to have you do that. Just let us know. Use your connection card and just mark that you're interested in volunteering or serving. So far this year, one of the big things we did earlier in the year, we launched 3 missional communities. Those kind of slowed down a little bit through the summer, but those will really kick back up as here before long. We're starting to lay the groundwork for a 4th missional community that we're going to be starting. So we're excited about that coming up. Attendance, I'm not a big numbers person, but I did want to put the numbers in front of you. So our attendance from July to December last year's average attendance was 136. So far this year, it's up to 141. Now you may say, oh, that's not a big jump, but the last year has been a year of transition, big time for our church. Moving into a new facility, pastoral change, there's been a lot of transition. And I don't know everything there is to know about churches, but I do know that a lot of times when churches go through transition, especially pastoral transition, and then you throw in a move to a different location and all the work that's required in that, a lot of churches aren't trending in a positive direction when they come through all that. So that is to be celebrated. That's to be celebrated, that God's Spirit is moving, that people are catching the, yeah, go ahead and clap. It's okay. It's okay. Don't ever feel like you can't clap, okay? I grew up in a Baptist church, and it was like, you sit there and be quiet and don't talk, don't clap, don't do anything. It is okay to clap. The Bible tells us to clap. The Bible tells us to dance. If you were around our students this week, they were dancing a lot. It is okay to do those things because when we clap here as this church, we're clapping for the glory of Jesus and what he's doing. So it's okay to clap. Easter Sunday was an awesome Sunday for us. I know God was moving in a powerful way. We had 276 here on Easter Sunday. It was a great day. So just seeing spiritual movement and life change. Community impact. Our partnership with Adrian Burnett Elementary that we took through last year was just great. The cards and the notes and just the ways that I think that school was encouraged. That God gets all the glory for that. We're going to be doing that again this year, just loving on them and serving them as part of our For the City project. We'll be over there again, helping them get ready with some stuff for school. Our For the City Sundays, already talked about those. Our Hall Sports Camp that we did just back in June was just a great step into the community, providing something for a community that wasn't there. And we've celebrated a lot about that and how well that went, and just looking to see God continue to move through that. So financially, I wanted to just celebrate, again, with a church that's went through a transition like we have. A lot of times you can't see these things that I'm about to share with you. These are all to be celebrated. Our financial giving in 2017, if you were at the lunch that we did at the beginning of the year, where we kind of cast vision for this year, we looked back and shared some things with you from last year. Generosity, our giving last year was $191,000. So far this year, this is through June, so halfway through the year, our giving's been $108,000, which is projecting us out to be at $216,000, which is, somebody do the math real quick. What's that like? Is that 25,000 increase. So praise God. Praise God for the way that he's stirring in your heart to give. I know many of you have taken next steps of giving. We budgeted out for this year at $220,000. We knew that was going to be a step of faith to be able to do the ministry that we wanted to do as a church and be positioned moving forward. We said that our goal, because the last 2 years we had spent out a whole lot more than we had brought in. Some of that was due to moving to the space. But we reduced some of our administrative and overhead costs, trying to get our expenses down. We said our goal for 2018 is that we want to have a balanced budget financially. Not just because it's about that, but because we believe this year was a get-ready year for 2018, for God to launch us forward in the years ahead. But we've got to be able to steward our resources well as a church and make sure that we're in a position to launch forward and grow. Rather than be trending backwards financially. So thank you for your generosity, and we're off to a great start. We got to continue moving forward with that, though. So let me share with you a few things looking ahead. This building that we're in, I know I'm talking really fast, so I'm just trying to get through it all because I know we're hungry and you don't want to be here forever. But so the building that we're in, we currently, when we moved in here, One Life Church, who is a part of the same network that the Grove Church is a part of, Church Planting Network, One Life Church used this space before us. So their contract ran through September of this, through the end of August of this year. So when we came in, we actually have been subleasing underneath One Life. When the Grove moved in, I wasn't a part of it at that point, but you all made a down payment to One Life to help buy down the monthly price and pay for equipment and all that kind of stuff. So we have currently been paying $3,500 a month for this space. And we'll do that again in August for one more month. Now, at the end of August, that lease is over. Everything's back to square one. So we've been in the negotiation process with Ridenour Properties to continue using this space for the next 3 years is what we've locked in at. And so with that, what we're going to be doing is we had a couple options on what we could do. And so our ministry leaders, so you may be asking, who makes those decisions? We have a ministry leadership team that is Eric Smith, who's standing in the back. Craig, are you in here? Craig maybe had to. Craig is in security, so Craig's out there somewhere. You can hear me talk if you know Craig Cantrell. Christy Brown, where's Christy? Christy's right here. And myself form our ministry leadership team that we work together to make these decisions and pray through that. And so what we've done is we're stepping into a new lease for the next 3 years. Now, One Life was paying out I'm not going to say what they were paying out, but it's more than what we're going to be paying out when we start the lease. We've got a really good deal. We covered this thing in prayer. God's given us favor through Ridenour. Now, it is going to be a bump up. It's a bump up from where we are because we're taking on full responsibility of the lease. So we're going from $3,500 to about $5,000 a month. So that's a significant step up for us. But we're getting this space for $4 a square foot. If you know anything about real estate, that is a super great deal to be able to have this space for the next 3 years. And so what we're looking at, though, is that over the course of the next 3 years, there's future plans. So let's look at future goals and what we think God's going to do in the next 3 years through ministry in this space and outside of this space. We want to be setting active plans, and I can tell you there's already some things in motion. God's already moving in some of this. Active plans for planting another church by the end of 2020. I just believe that's something that God is going to lead us to be a church that plants other churches. This church was planted. We're part of a church planting network that has went from 3 churches in 2010 to over 100 churches now all across the United States and specifically in the Southeast. This is kind of part of who we are. The Grove was a church that was started, and that ought to be in our DNA to have a desire to plant other churches. And you say, well, isn't there a lot of churches? There's churches on every street corner. Do we really need more churches in East Tennessee? We need churches that are on fire for Jesus, that understand the mission of his church and are passionate about meeting people where they are. We need more of those kind of churches. And we want to play a part in seeing those start in areas maybe where those kind of churches are lacking. So we're praying for that. And looking ahead to, well, what's going to come? You say your thought may be, well, what's going to come at the end of 3 years? I don't know exactly for sure, but what I would love to see is for us to be praying and asking God to lead us about how we can use a space to be a multi-purpose kind of space in the community that would allow us to have a greater community impact. I know that's vague. I don't know exactly what that looks like, but I would love to see us having a space as a church that we can do more for the community, that can be used in a lot of different ways in the community for different things, and not just be a place that we meet on Sunday. So that's kind of a vague general direction, but I think God's going to make that much clearer as we move forward about what that can look like. And we'll be sharing more ideas with you as we move forward. But we just ask you to, in the midst of, we want to enjoy what we have for the next 3 years and work hard. We don't know, 5-year plans are only as effective as what you put down. The problem is sometimes we put things in pen when they should probably be in pencil. And so I think God starts to give us direction, and we move forward in that, and we see how he unfolds everything. So we're just going to, we know God's got us here for the next 3 years, and we're just going to be praying that God gives us a big vision, a vision that this space can't hold, that we can impact our community in a lot of different ways. Leadership needs. We are in the process right now of looking to have a ministry leadership intern, someone that would help with a small stipend and be trained for future ministry leadership, possibly even planting a church. We're also beginning to pray through and talk through the potential of, these are both all bivocational roles, of looking to bring someone in as kind of an associate pastor role that could help with community outreach, student pastor, could potentially be that future church planner, looking at all these things. We're just praying that God gives us clarity on what that looks like, but I believe in what I've been telling our staff and our leadership is that preparation precedes blessing. So what that means is if we don't get ready in advance for what we believe God's going to do, he may never do it. So if we want to see God move and we want to be a blessing in the community and see God move in our church, it's going to take some steps of faith that we have to prepare in advance. So in order for this to happen, 2 key things. Prayer needs. We're looking to form a prayer team, a team of people that will start praying over the vision and direction of our church specifically, that'll meet together occasionally when needed and when prompted, but also just at different times just to specifically be praying. So if you're a prayer warrior and you say, sign me up for that. I believe in what God's doing for this church, and I just want to pray through whatever I need to pray through. Use your connection card and write prayer team on that, or shoot me a text or an email and let me know. That's going to be something we're going to start to form as we move into the fall. And generosity. obviously with this vision in front of us and the things that God has coming for us and our increase in expenses here, we just want to encourage you to continue to let God grow you in the area of giving. We don't want to guilt you into giving. We're not trying to beat more giving out of you. We just want to ask you to take a next step of faith in giving and whatever that might look like, just like you would in any other area of your life. So if the Grove Church is your church home, you think through what your next steps with giving may be. Maybe you're not giving anything. We would say just start giving something. It's a sporadic kind of next step. I'm just going to give kind of as I can. If your giving's been sporadic, we would say get with God, 2 Corinthians 9:7. Let God determine in your heart what you should give. Give a consistent amount. We'd say do that on a monthly basis because we set our budget up on a monthly basis. You can use our online giving even to automate that and prioritize that so you don't even, so you've got it out there and it's just coming out and it's prioritized. Maybe if you're consistently giving, we would say, could you increase that giving? What would growth look like for you to take a next step in that area? So again, we don't want to be legalistic with this or beat you over the head with it, but I think if you're excited about what God's doing, we know that he's just starting to unveil his vision for us, and so there's going to be great things to come, and we're going to need as a church to be growing in all areas so we continue moving forwards.